Hello everybody, welcome to Chess 101. Today's video is how to deliver checkmate with just a king and a rook. So here's the position on the board. We have the king, the white king, the black king, and the white rook. This is the final position. I'm going to show you this now just so you can kind of take it in, because it's good to see what the final position looks like so that you can get there from some random position in the middle of the board. Okay, so this is the final position. So we're going to start by just taking the pieces and putting them somewhere else on the board. Okay, so in this scenario, I put the king and black king in the middle of the board. Anytime you're being checkmated with very few pieces on the board as black, you want to stay in the middle of the board. As long as you can stay in the middle of the board, it's hard for your opponent to checkmate you. It's easy to get checkmated in the corner or on the sides, but in the middle, it's hard to be checkmated. So against a beginner, they may not know how to do this. So anyway, there's 3 rules, and all you have to do is follow these 3 simple steps. And if you follow them, every time you can deliver checkmate. Okay, so the first rule is just to limit the king's movement. You just have to limit where this king can go. You need to cut the board and make it, in a small area for it to go. Well, here, the best place to to limit the king's movement is just to play the rook over here, right here. It cuts the board in half, and these are the only squares that the king has to play with. It can't go anywhere else because it can't cross over to here, and it can't go over here because of this. So we're going to make this little area the king can go really small, and we want to push the king to the side of the board. So rule number 1 is to limit where the king can go. Okay, rule number 2 is to establish something called the opposition. Now, what the opposition is are when the kings are on opposite squares. This is called opposition, okay? When the kings are on opposite squares, if you can create the opposition, then you can easily force the king onto the side of the board and deliver checkmate, okay? So, and you're probably saying, well, how do I get the opposition? Well, it's actually pretty easy, okay? So we'll just take an example here. So the king's here, and this king's here. Now, your goal is to get the king across from the enemy king. So we'll start here just by moving here. Now, if the king plays here, you have opposition, right? The king is opposed, and it's white's move. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to limit where the king can go. So we're just going to check the king. The king can't get out because this white king is blocking him, so the king has to go back. We'll just say he plays there, right? And then what do we do after we limit where he goes? Well, we just oppose again, so we'll just move the king here. And then if the king plays here to the middle, we just check again, right? And we just do this over and over. King, 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 check. King, 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 and then that's it, checkmate, right? Now you're saying, yeah, but the king, he's being really easy. He's making this easy. Okay, well, let's see what it looks like if the king is not being very friendly, okay? So we'll say you play this and the king goes over here. He's coming after that rook. It's fine. You just push your king to try to get close to the other king. If he plays here to attack this rook, we don't want to give up this file here. We don't want to give it up, so we're just going to take the rook all the way to the other side, play him here, right? So the king's going to come back over here and try to get the rook again. That's fine. So you're probably saying, oh, well, gosh, if I play here, the king just goes past me, and this happens in beginner games all the time. I see this, right? So I'm going to teach you this secret move right here. It's called an in-between move, right? You don't want to move your king. You want to force this king onto this square. And you can't do it if you play here because he comes here, you don't have opposition anymore, right? So what you do is you just take this rook and move him 1 square. That's all you do, 1 square. Then, if the king plays here, you can do this, right? Now, let's say the king says, I'm not going to fall for that. I'm just going to move over here so you can't have the opposition. You just push your king there. Well, he has 2 choices, either here or here. If he plays here, you check him. If he plays here, you just play here. Now he either has to play here or back. If he plays here, you have opposition and you check and you limit where he can go, right? If for some reason here he plays here, no problem. Just check, just do this and block him. Do not deliver check. The only time you want to deliver check with the rook, the only time is when it's opposition like this. It's the only time you ever want to check. Okay? So we'll say that you play this and he plays over here. We're just going to go through the same thing again, right? You're going to move your rook, because that way if he plays here, you can check. And let's say he comes after the rook. You just chase him down, right? And then we'll play all the way to the other side of the board, right? If he comes back here, what do? We can't play this. We in between move. We just play here. One square. Okay? If he goes here, boom, check. We'll say he goes here. Play here. Because you don't want to oppose him. You want to force him onto the square. So he plays here. We come all the way to the end of the board. Comes here, in between move, right? He runs away. There's not many places he can go. Then it's check. And then he has to go back here, okay? And as you can see, this thing would just progress where you would play this. And then he would come after the rook. This happens all the time in blitz games online, okay? Practice it with your friends, and checkmate. And that's that's how it goes. Okay, it's super easy to do. It's the second easiest one of the different combinations. Obviously, king and queen's a lot easier because you can really limit where the king can go with the queen, and you don't have to do this opposition with the queen. You can just push the king to the side of the board. And checkmate. Has to be on the sides of the board somewhere. You can't do it anywhere in the middle of the board, which is the king and the rook, okay? Most important thing here is this concept of opposition. You want to force the other king to move opposite you to deliver the checkmate. And you never, ever, ever, ever want to check unless you're opposed. Because if you check here, the king gets out. And now he's got all this space to go. And now you're stuck, trying to limit where the king can go, okay? So I'll set up the final position again just so you can see it. It can be like this, it can be like this, it can be like this, it can be like this. That's how you checkmate with a king and a rook. Feel free to watch the video a couple times to figure it out, but just remember the two rules. The first rule is to limit where the king can go. Just limit where the king can go with your rook, and then force opposition. And if you're ever in a situation where you have to oppose, don't do it. Just move the rook. Just move him. Just move him one square. Force him to do this, and then you check him. And then when he gets close to your rook, just move the rook all the way to the other side of the board. And don't let him have your rook. You can just move it. But remember, you never, ever, ever want to check until you're opposed. If you check here, he's going to go over here. Okay, so those are the simple rules. Very common beginner mistake is to always want to check. Now what, right? So you're not going to be able to deliver checkmate if you're always checking the king. You have to not checkmate the king. Anyway, that's today's video, king and a rook delivering checkmate. I'll just set it up here again so you can see it. This is the final position. It's literally the only way you can deliver checkmate with the king and a rook. Thanks for watching the video today, and I'll see you on another Chess 101 video. Thanks.